I'm moving forward every day. Jesus, I just let him lead the way every second, every minute, every hour of the day. I'm moving with Jesus every day. 24/7 with Jesus every day. 24/7 with Jesus. I'm moving with Jesus every day.
Lights, camera, action. For years, this cue has been in the domain of just a privileged few in the film industry. But not anymore. Not since just about everyone has his or her camera right in the palm of their hands. And add to that, social media. And you have an opportunity like never before. You must have seen it, where just about everyone is looking to get in front of the camera. Extroverts and introverts alike, looking to be the next social media sensation. Or for some, just a chance to share themselves, be heard, be seen by the world. Well, it's the place where, for so many people, they get their sense of worth whenever they hit that Facebook Live. It seems they do come alive. TikTok Reels, Instagram videos, you name it, and all the other platforms they have access to. Today, many are finding their worth on social media. We're talking today about social media and self-esteem. We've brought in professional psychiatrist Dr. Sandra Reed, and we have Mrs. Petra Pear Robertson, motivational and empowerment leader, social media related work experience. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you. Thank
How are
you.
you doing?
Quite good. It's our pleasure to be here.
Yes. And it's my pleasure having you both.
We are back again.
Yes, good. God bless. Well, let's get into this. What a combination we're talking to here now. Social media and self-esteem. For years, we've had to be treated with self-esteem as an issue, standalone. Now, when we bring this together with social media, I think it could be very explosive. Petra, let's begin with you. Do you agree that people with low self-esteem find it much easier to communicate on social media?
You start off, you hit the ground running there.
Yes, let's run with it.
Let me answer it this way. Persons with low self-esteem, it depends on what they want to communicate and how they want to communicate. Because social media in itself can contribute to low self-esteem. So if you are saying low self-esteem, you are using social media, then what about the social comparison? We are on social media, the comparison causes person and fear of missing out on these issues can cause persons to actually get low self-esteem. Now, on the other hand, social media can be used if someone with low self-esteem, that low self-esteem is expressed, because low self-esteem can be expressed in a number of different ways. But if this particular low self-esteem causes this person to be able to speak directly to persons, whenever they are in front of a crowd, they freeze. But on social media, behind a camera, where they can think about an audience that they have in their mind and not necessarily see the audience, but they are interacting on social media. This may cause them, it can cause someone with low self-esteem to feel a little more confident because the audience is invisible.
Yes.
So in that regard, yes. But I don't want persons to leave with the impression that use social media if you have low self-esteem. Social media could also kill your
And
self-esteem.
we are going to talk a bit
Yes.
about that later on as well. But at least for starters, let's get it clear that a lot of folks with low self-esteem would see this as an opportunity.
Correct.
As you just said, I am not standing before my audience. I'm going for it.
Correct. If
Okay.
it's manifesting that.
Beautiful. Dr. Reed, do you think social media should be recommended as a means of combating low self-esteem?
Mm-mm. I wouldn't even hesitate to say a no to that. All right? And I know the words. Whether it should be recommended as a means to combat low self-esteem. So I want to jump on and where
Yes.
Petra left, right? So we say persons with a low self-esteem may find it easier to communicate through social media. They don't have to face the crowd, the challenges they have in socializing, conversing can be eliminated on this social platform. However, we have to remember that people with low self-esteem basically use the opinions of others to value themselves, right? And the social media platform presents the ideal opportunity for that. Hundreds of people, all kinds of people. You can access the social media 24/7, any day, anyhow, once you have internet, right?
Yes.
And you have this person with low self-esteem who is now using this platform as a means to boost their self-esteem. And they do so in an unhealthy way, right? So we have these people and they are posting, but the purpose of the posting is to get the likes to feel good, right? And there's no guarantee that that is going to happen
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
we're dealing with social media where we have everybody trying to feel better than everybody else, right? And then when they find that the likes are not adequate to feel good, they begin posting what they think they should be. So now we have these idealized profiles and these pictures that have been photoshopped and all of these things. So they are creating a false identity which will do nothing to help their self-esteem, right? And then they go hunting for the people with the profiles where they can feel better than. So you find what the social media platform does, it really gives the person with a low self-esteem the opportunity to chase a better self-esteem in an unhealthy way. And I think we should never encourage people to improve their self-esteem through comparisons. Hence my no.
So,
And
so
if
go
I
ahead.
may mention, there is self-esteem because persons may be just and Dr. You can probably with your background build on this if you see the need. She mentioned there that and I like that. She mentioned that with social media now, the filter and ideal self.
Yes.
Now that is the beginning of the creation of low self-esteem. Because when you look at self-esteem, you are looking at the person that you are, the person that your real self,
Right.
the person you would like to be, and the person that you think you are.
Wow, that's another self.
And that it's between these three that your self-esteem, I wouldn't call it an equation, but your self-esteem is formulated. So when you want to see yourself this way, but you are actually this way, that's like looking at someone and saying, I love your size, you are trim, and they're like, you find so fat, I need to lose weight. Your real self is you are 120 pounds, but in your mind, you are fat. And you are valuing, your value is an idealized size that is not really a real size. So when
Somebody
you go on,
else's size you're following.
correct. And when you go on social media now, and you post a picture of yourself, because someone told you have a nice size, so you say, okay, maybe I'm looking at the post this picture. And you think it likes.
That's correct.
Then you now begin creating an ideal self, and your self-esteem will have dropped because you are not appreciating
To begin with, you've posted the ideal photo in your album.
Correct.
That's correct.
You
Because you select
select the one.
carefully which one you post. And after you've posted it, you are constantly on social media because you are checking how many likes did I get? What comments did I get? Were they positive comments? Have any friends added me because of this post? And when you don't get that satisfaction, you go to your friend's post. But she posted a picture just like this and she got 200 likes. I only got 100.
And you begin to value yourself less.
That's correct.
And social media has
social media
contributed
is
to
able
that.
to tear that down. Okay. So we're talking about all these different selves in one person. And Doc, are we going down the road here of mental issues? Are we looking that down the barrel?
Yes, definitely. Because the scenario that we have posed, let's make it a little more specific. Let's take a specific demographic. Let's imagine a young female. And when I say young, between the ages of 10 to 14, I choose that age group because the literature shows that that's the vulnerable age group. 10 to 14-year-old females are the ones who have the most difficulty with the dynamics we're talking about here. All right? So you have these young girls who are developing, they've entered puberty, they are measuring themselves against, oh my, their peers, the movie stars, Miss Trinidad and Tobago who went up for Miss Universe. They're measuring themselves against Hollywood and against the profiles of others, which we've already said are not
Filtered.
real. They're filtered, they're not real. And they begin to feel very inadequate and very inferior. Now they're coming in with low self-esteem. And the studies have also shown, it's debatable because the studies are not conclusive, that they may very well be coming in with depression. And the experience where you expect to have this nurturing of your self-esteem, and instead what you get is further devaluation. That is the ideal setting for the development of depression.
Wow. And you're talking 10 to 14
Yes.
girls. I mean,
Girls.
this is a time when they're just still finding themselves.
That's correct.
Still trying to form identity.
That's correct.
And do you think that we need to keep our girls off social media? Well, what do you say to the parents of? I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old daughter. I am smack into this. What do you say to parents like me with young girls and social media?
Okay.
We touched a little on that in the last session. I know we will build on this. We touched a little on that in the last session when we spoke about the fact that you cannot take something that can be very beneficial and keep it away. One, we are in the technological age. Two, even though you keep social media away from your girls, I'm sorry for squealing on you young people in school. They go to school
Yes.
via their
And
gadgets,
they'll follow it.
where their friends will even give them a phone, create a profile for them so they will communicate. And you as a parent will never know because they are on that profile in school utilizing their friends' gadgets or social media profile under their name mommy and daddy doesn't know. So parents, first thing, there is no way you can keep your child away from social media. It's coming at them in the technological age. However, it means that a lot more, the Bible talk to them when you talk to them when you
Yes,
rise up,
that's
talk to them
right.
when you
Sit
sit
down.
down. Because all you can do is monitor how you can monitor, but you want them to be equipped to make proper choices. You want them to understand where this can lead. Certainly, even if they have it at home and you're at home with them, we talked about last week, monitoring them and monitoring the social media use. Because remember, even at that age, isn't that the age when the hormones are also going crazy?
Oh yes, puberty.
So
That's
add
right.
anxiety to that, add perfectionism to that, add dissatisfaction to that. That's a perfect cocktail for mental illness in early life.
And so, just about every age, at any stage of life, you have to be mindful of social media use. But in particular, this age bracket, this age group here, we want parents and guardians at home to know that if you have young girls within this very sensitive and delicate period, to be very mindful of their social media use and their development and how this can impact them. But ladies,
So,
you're gonna
You
have-
wanted to
go
say
ahead.
something?
no,
else?
because you were asking what then do we say to parents,
Yes.
right? So I just want to stick up in a little bit here. If you try to keep the children off of social media, there's mental illness there too, eh?
Wow.
FOMO,
Yes, correct, correct.
Yeah.
Fear of missing out.
fear of missing
Yes.
out. So you can't
You can't
do that to
keep them
them.
Whole school by
That,
itself.
that's a whole thing by itself,
Yes.
right? But I want to go further on what Petra says, because education is the key, right? And she talked about educating them about safe use. But you also have to educate them about the reality of social media. They need to know that when they see those pictures aren't necessarily real, right? I know sometimes I get a little concerned is not the word, but social media bothers me sometimes, right? I remember years ago, I saw a picture posted by a young lady on Facebook. The picture, in my opinion, and I'm not judgmental, but the picture was unattractive. The picture didn't do her justice. She's a very nice young lady, physically and right, but she posted in a very inappropriate manner. And I saw people just liking and liking. Oh, you're so sexy. Oh, you look so good. And it was like, no, people, you're not for real, you know?
So they're promoting that. They're
They're
pushing
Of course.
promoting it, right?
Of course.
And I'm saying Facebook is fake book.
Yes.
And we need to let our children know that. We need to
Yes,
educate them
yes.
in that manner. So when they see these
Correct.
photoshopped and these filtered pictures, they recognize them for what they are,
Yes.
right? And on top of that now, you have to monitor them, as you said, but you're monitoring them for the signs of the low self-esteem.
Correct.
For the signs of becoming addicted to it, and you want to limit the time. The people who use it inappropriately are the people who tend to use it excessively.
Yes. And talk about that false identity.
Yes.
In that photo, the fact that this is the one that gets me the likes, then
That's right.
this is the image I'm going to be building now.
That's correct.
Because that's what people want.
That's
want
correct.
From
When
me.
you step away from that screen and you really walk the road now, so then there are two selves. So it's almost schizophrenia. You have your social self, your social identity, and you have your real
Really?
identity.
Okay.
So in
Okay.
your social identity, you become who you want to be. But when you walk away, and in your mind, you know, that is not me.
Wow.
So when you look at the real me in the mirror, and the real me is not measuring up to the filtered me, self-esteem issues again.
We
Bill,
talked
right
about
there.
relationships last time. Guys, you want to be careful and be sure who you are with. If you are with the virtual girl or the real girl.
Yes, and vice versa.
And yes, of course, the lady as well.
Yes. But the females really are more
But in
vulnerable.
all of
Yes,
this,
they are.
in all of
Yes.
this, we're talking here about the comparison factor. So much is hinged on what I see others doing on there and how I match that or not. But this is social media. The very concept is for us to be able to exchange and socialize, interact, and build. Since that is the case, is there any way of avoiding comparison on social media?
Let me get a little feisty here. Is there any way of avoiding comparison in life?
In life, yes.
You know what I mean? Jacob and
Yeah.
Joseph and his siblings. You know, we compare all the time. It is a weakness of parenting. Why you can't be like your sister? Why you can't be like your brother? Why you can't be like your cousin? She went to convent. Why you pass for wherever?
And except in
Yes.
this case, what heightens it or worsens it maybe is the fact that then it was your brother, your sister, and the other few cousins and the guy down the street. Now it's the entire world.
That's
The
correct.
person in Africa, in
That's
Australia,
right. Yes.
everywhere.
Yep.
You're making that comparison against.
Yes.
So it's
That's right.
it's heavier
That's
for
right.
for the person handling this comparison today.
Exactly.
And being able to avoid it.
That's right. So I mean, once we're talking the use of social media, comparison always almost becomes inevitable, right?
But on a heightened level.
But on a heightened level.
Yes.
Now, I read an interesting paper. Unfortunately, I don't remember the conclusion of the paper, right? But I'll still share what I remember. They were saying that when people compare themselves with others on Facebook, you either compare yourself favorably or unfavorably. But given the dynamics we're talking about here, the people with the low self-esteem tend to be the ones most attracted and comparing the most. They tend to compare themselves unfavorably, right? But they're saying that comparison isn't necessarily a bad thing. They describe it as there's an optimal level for the difference in perceived, how you perceive yourself and others. So if it's a little bit better or a little less, right, that's okay. But it's the extremes that cause the problem,
excessive.
right? And social media facilitates the extremes.
Correct.
So and I'm glad you went there, because I mean it's always important to balance it for those viewing who might feel you're going down one road or the other. This healthy side. How and you express some of it there
Yeah.
in referencing that article, the healthy side of comparison. Do you think that folks are able to strike it, that healthy balance?
Yeah.
The healthy balance of there is a healthy balance in comparison, but whether folks are able to strike it, it depends on what we have been sharing so far the discourse. In other words, it is unhealthy to compare and be jealous. Jacob,
Right.
Right.
his brothers,
Yeah.
Jacob Esau, but that was I needed the birthright, so I'm going to get it. But it heightened generations later with the brothers. You have the jealousy playing out there. When you compare yourself to others to the point where you try to become them, and there are certain quotes that make you feel, quotes like imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But we also talk about the green eye monster because envy kills. Jealousy kills. Joseph was to have been killed. And envy and jealousy is where sin originated because he wanted to be. No, you want to be like Christ, right?
Yes.
But there's a difference in wanting to be like Christ in terms of emulating positive
Or like
values
Lucifer.
or being Christ.
Or being in Christ. Yeah.
So when you are comparing to the point where I want what you have, and I'm not saying, okay, let me emulate the positives, Dr. Reed is a good role model. When I grow up, I want to be like Dr. Reed. I'm going to model Hadimina. I'm going to model her. That's modeling. When you say, I want what she has, and you watch when you see her, something turning up in you because you wish it were you, and you want,
That's
then
the
we have a
challenge
problem with comparison. It becomes unhealthy.
Yes.
It should, and modeling is not comparison either.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So you wanted to come in?
Yeah, because and it also depends on who you are comparing yourself with. And I think most importantly, what is your baseline of self-esteem?
Right.
Because if you feel good about yourself and you have a solid self-esteem and you compare yourself with a role model, right? And you believe that you can work harder to be like them, to emulate the positive characteristics, as you said, right? But your baseline of self-worth is solid enough that if you recognize you're not like them, you don't feel badly about it.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes,
that's
yes.
important.
Yes.
And in all of this, there is the assumption in our conversation that the comparison heavily hinges on things like females wanting to look like certain females and all of that. I imagine it's very wide and goes even beyond that. Maybe there are homemakers who want to do stuff, be a cook like another cook. Some guy who wants to have the physique of another
Correct.
bodybuilder
Yes.
on Facebook, they're following and
Yes.
all of that. So it's
Yes.
all pervasive. What do you say to the person who, youth or otherwise, who is already at that place where they are really addicted to this comparison syndrome? This is the young lady who she just wants to be a Kim Kardashian above anything else in life, and she would do anything to be her, to be the Beyonce, to be the whomever. What do you say to those who feel a sense of this addiction? How can we get them out of that place?
All right, so first they have to recognize it. I don't think young people necessarily recognize when they are in it, right? So, young people, and I would talk to the young people here, if you recognize that social media makes you feel worse when you're finished with a surfing session, than you did before, ask yourself why. It's time for some self examination, right? If you recognize that you need those likes, if you recognize that if you don't get them, you feel depressed, you feel anxious, you feel inadequate, then maybe it's time to get off of Facebook for a while or to get off of social media for a while. I think that's important, all right? Stay off of social media and talk to somebody. Yeah, I'm not sending you to a counselor, just talk to somebody, right? Talk to somebody and let them help you get an objective appraisal of yourself. Yeah, right? Your self worth should not be dependent on what you see on social media. Your self esteem, your self worth, first of all, comes from an appreciation that you're a child of God. Because we all are, regardless, we all are. And just the recognition that there is a Christ who died for us, that alone, all of us should be bouncing on a good self esteem, right?
Without social media.
Without social media, right? But even if we say, okay, we take that for granted and we accept that we are children of God, right? We should be able to evaluate ourselves, the good and the bad, and accept the entire package. Unfortunately, comparison helps us to focus on what is bad and what is not good and what is weak and what is deficient, right? All you need to do is to get that balance. There is good and there is bad in me, and I accept the entire package. What is bad and I can work on, I work on. But what is good, I value, without me having to compare myself positively positively with someone who doesn't have that that virtue.
Correct.
Yes?
And even when you come off, as Dr. Rita speaking there, even when you tell yourself, okay, I have to pull away from it because I recognize based on the important symptoms she pointed out, you have to fill that with something else.
That's good.
The problem is alternative activities. And there are so many alternative activities that social media, obsession and time spent consumed with social media have kept us, I'm saying us, some of us on social media or young persons or persons who are addicted, have kept us from activities like hiking, camping, reading, playing sports, knitting, sewing, sleep. Oh yes, very important activity. Volunteer work in the community. Study. Study, whether it is academic study or learning. Every single person, academic or not, you should have at least a skill or a trade. What skill or trade do you have? Can you play music? Can you do plumbing? Can you sew? Can you cook? Can you bake? What can you do without dependence on someone else? And I would challenge persons who are listening, the time you spend on social media, adopt a skill that you can hone. You may find, long ago when you're filling out applications and stuff, they would ask you, what is your hobby? That was critical.
That's correct. It's not there anymore.
That's my point. Because your hobby now is social media, and your hobby would be your right.
Yes.
I like to read, I like to write, I like to camp, I like to play sports.
Yes.
I
Why
spend
has
time on
that
social
been-
media. That's the hobby.
That's exactly. So I'm saying find another
Yes.
hobby.
Yes, and you're just going with this comparison. I know one comparison that does not have the side effects that we've been talking about.
Yes.
Comparing oneself to Jesus, as you mentioned before. He's the best person to always try to measure so that you can, reach that goal.
Amen.
But in all of that, what do you ladies think? If Jesus was here today on the earth, would he be on social?
If Jesus was here and there today, there is technology. Of course, I could see Jesus preaching to more than the fixed people there. I could see him using all the possible technologies because Jesus was on the earth. There wasn't, were there books at the time? Then you can ask the same question. If Jesus went, would he use a printed Bible?
The scrolls and the
Yeah. Or would he say, give me the scrolls, give me the parchment. What is this, book? I don't know about book. I know about scroll. So saying he wouldn't be on social media. But the question is, how would he have utilized
That's
it?
the question.
What would have been the motive for him being on it?
Right.
We have to pull back there and ask ourselves, what are our motives? How are we utilizing it?
And that should inform us as
Of
to how
course.
we use it ourselves.
Definitely.
Okay.
That's right.
And help young, old, middle-aged, whatever category to be able to rightly assess how am I utilizing
That's
this?
correct.
What is it doing to me, for me,
Yes.
for the people around me?
That's
For the
correct.
world,
That's right, because Jesus
messaging
came
him.
here with a purpose.
Exactly.
And were he to use Facebook, I'm sure he would use it with that purpose in
Correct.
mind.
Correct.
And so, can we find Jesus on social? If we are looking for him, for the person out there who's defending everything social, are we able to get them to find Jesus even on social? He's not here in person today, but what we put there, others might be able to come in contact with him.
Can I take another spin on that? Can persons find Jesus on social through our profiles because we are ambassadors for Christ? So finding Jesus on social is finding Jesus through me,
Through me.
finding Jesus through you.
Yes.
That's where Jesus is on social.
Fully endorse
So
that.
your social profile, your social life, we talked about those different lifestyle, the real and the virtual.
What are people seeing?
You must have one life that shows Jesus on social as well as in the real.
And the
That's
same
correct.
life you see on social, when you see me walking, you must say, "You look exactly as I saw you on
Yeah.
social media." I am sure it is you. It is you I saw.
Yes.
It mustn't be. It's you?
Wow.
You are that person. Okay.
All right, ladies, that's all the time we have, but I want to give you a
Yes.
chance to share a few closing thoughts. Social media and self-esteem. There's a young girl, a young guy right now listening to your voice. Talk to the people for a couple of moments before we close.
So if I were to talk to the young people, I would say to you, take advantage of the good that social media presents, because it does present good. It helps you to establish and maintain connections. It helps you with your networking. It helps you in your witness, as we discussed. Take advantage of the good, but never use it as a form of validation. That is not what it is there for. Your worth rests in being a child of God, as we all are. Have a purpose in its use. That's what Jesus did, or would have done, had he been on social media in his time. Have a purpose in its use. And lastly, I would say to them, recognize when you're in trouble. Recognize when you're getting digital burnout. Recognize when social media makes you feel worse rather than better because you may be getting depressed. Recognize when you need it to feel good because you may be getting addicted, and seek help.
Beautiful, thank you. Petra, I'm going to ask you to actually speak to the wider category than the youth now, because there's so many others who are affected by this reality. In your wrap-up words.
Definitely parents and role models and leaders, remember, you also have to model it as well. So what we would have shared for the young people also applies to you, because as we would have said last week, the study that was done that showed how young people see parents, parents also see them, and basically how they are seeing them is always on your gadget. Daddy always on your phone, mommy always on your phone, I always on my... So what we said to the young people also applies to us as adults.
Definitely. Ladies, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
I'm sure that our audience is blessed with what they are hearing here. Social media and self-esteem. If somehow you are struggling with your self-esteem, you've heard a lot here today, understand that you are wonderfully and fearfully made with the image of God inside of you. And so that's where you get your cue, your validation, your importance, your sense of worth. Not from the followers, the likes, the contacts, the shares, and the thumbs up, and all of that. Know that you have been bought, not with silver or gold, not with the devices, not with the 1,000,001 followers who you don't even know. You've been bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. And so whether on social or in real life, let us stand in our true sense of worth given by God. May God bless you. Thank you for viewing. From all of us here at JC 24/7, you take care and God bless.